Blog Talk Radio.
It's time for another great episode of the Stop Doing Nothing Show, the show for high achievers. Now, here's your host, Patrick Allman.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, this is Patrick Allman here on your regular Thursday afternoon show. As you can tell, we got a brand new intro. I'd like some feedback there from that on you. My name is Patrick Allman, and welcome to the regular weekly 4 p.m. Central Time Blog Talk Radio High Achievers Show for the Stop Doing Nothing community. My name is Patrick Allman, and for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be talking about some of the tools, tricks, mindsets, and other things you should be focusing on to be a high achiever in the world. This is the last episode for 2012, so we're going to be a little relaxed here. We're going to be doing a lot of tool review, a lot of mindset thinking about maybe what you should be thinking about for the next 12 months. If you are listening live, feel free to call in anytime, area code 424-222-5282, and I'd love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions on the air. In addition, if you go to blogtalkradio.com/stopdoingnothing, there is a live chat room there where you can chat with me live right now on the show, and I have that up and running and got some people joining in there, and I'm looking forward to hearing your Q&A in that room right there. But again, the call-in number is 424-222-5282. If you would, you might also hop on social media and share the fact that we're going live here. Okay, this is show 5. If you haven't listened to those shows, what we do every single week for about 30 minutes is we cover the things you need to know to be a high achiever in this world. And by high achiever, I mean someone who is extremely productive. And this is not for everybody. This is for the very elite. This is for the very few people in the world, the people that want to be very efficient from the moment they wake up until the moment they go to sleep, and the people that want to plan out their day, their week, and their month. We really focus on forecasting and planning also, and we really focus on time and energy management also. So all of our shows are focused around what it takes for you to eliminate distractions and get hyper-focused on what you need to be a high achiever in the world. We're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. We encourage you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/stopdoingnothing. You might also hop over to the actual website, stopdoingnothing.com, and on the right-hand side, I have a gift for you where you can sign up for a free membership to the Stop Doing Nothing Club, and you can get one of my free ebooks there. I'd love to have you there also. And we have a new thing that we're working on right now that we could use your feedback on. We're actually building an app. The app is going to be called Desire. And by application, in this particular case, I mean web application. But you can go to desire.stopdoingnothing.com and sign up and help us test this. But what it is, we're building basically a social network for high achievers, for people that want to go in, sign in, join our high achievement club, and then basically be able to enter their goals or their dreams or wishes or desires, put deadlines on them because, you know, a dream with a deadline is really what a goal is. And also be able to network with people that have other similar dreams and keep each person accountable. So consider going over and signing up for that at desire.allaboutfocus.com. This show 5, I thought I'd focus on the end of the year and the fact that we don't want to focus too much on New Year's resolutions, but also some of the things you can do looking forward for the next 12 months, 52 weeks, to forecast and plan out your high achievement lifestyle. I'm going to be focusing a lot on, like I said, online tools, electronic tools that I use to make myself as productive as possible. And it's important to note that I'd never, ever claim to be perfect. These are tools that I try to use on a regular basis. Every now and then I do forget to use one, or I get behind on the list, or I get behind on tracking something. And it's just a matter of catching up. And that, again, is another trait of a high achiever, someone who's consistent about keeping track of their goals, their lists, their income, their planning sheets, their deadlines, their to-do list. And you can make this really complicated on yourself, or you can make it really easy on yourself. And I'm going to show you some ways to make it really easy on yourself today. Let's first of all talk about the end of the year. This is typically the time that people start thinking about New Year's resolutions. And, you know, I'm all for goal setting and using, passages of time to say, hey, at this particular point in time, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But before you look at the end of the year, before you say, hey, I'm going to make this such and such New Year's resolution, I would encourage you to look on your previous years when you've made New Year's resolutions and see how much of those you've actually stuck to. So think about the beginning of 2012, end of 2013, when you actually said, I'm going to do such and such, and you actually accomplished it. Did it go the way you planned? Is it going to go that same way again in 2013? Did it go that way at the end of 2010 and 2011, and 2011, 2012? If it didn't, then you know what? Just scrap that whole idea of New Year's resolutions. I don't care what you see other people doing online or in person. New Year's resolutions may just not be something that works for you. And that's not really a big deal. To me, the end of the year is nothing major in life. It's a passage of time. I know we have certain governmental and certain fiscal things on the calendar that have to do with the end of December, the beginning of January. But when it comes to your life and you're planning about being a high achiever, the end of December is not really any different than the beginning of January. If you have your goals laid out and you have a definite plan listed, then the end of the year should just be in the passage of time for you. I mean, yeah, I love a good New Year's party as much as the next guy, but you've got bigger goals and bigger plans, and they should not be governed by how December ends and how January ends. So just be careful about falling on the same trap that everybody else does. At the end of the year, I'm going to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, or I'm going to stop smoking, or I'm going to take up yada yada hobby. I'm going to take up fishing. I'm going to take up biking. I'm going to take up flying, whatever it is. Just plan that out and make sure that your goals kind of overlap the end of the year, and you don't really put yourself on these serious deadlines in January, because that's a really good way to stress yourself out. It's bad enough that we have, Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then in some parts of the country really bad weather, and then New Year's also all at once to stress us out. We don't need to basically dump additional stress on us by getting involved with trying to set massive goals at the end of the year. For those of you that are listening live, again, I encourage you to call in at area code 424-222-5282 or hop into the chat room at blogtalkradio.com/StopDoingNothing. Okay, let's get on to talk about some ways that you can, regardless of the whole New Year's resolution thing, some things that you can be thinking about now and some tools you can put in place for the upcoming year that is going to make your life easier and help you kind of forecast and plan a little bit better. And one of the things I do for myself and for my business is I spend a lot of time in planning spreadsheets. And, spreadsheets are not for everybody, but I can tell you that just over time, the more I've learned to use spreadsheets where I can list things and plan things out, it feels good to get stuff out of my brain, to lay it out, and also color code things to where I can see them easier. Spreadsheets, to me, every single time I start up a new spreadsheet with maybe a new project I'm planning or something I'm tracking, I'm just surprised at how easy it is to use and basically help my clients see how we're making progress on different particular things, If you don't have a computer that has, an Office suite installed on it, like Microsoft Office or Numbers from the Mac, I would encourage you to use the Office suite that's built into your Google account if you have one. If you don't have a Google account, by all means, please get one immediately. That's just go to gmail.com and get one. And most people don't know that once you sign up for a Google account, one of the things you get for free built in there is a little miniature Office suite, and that includes a PowerPoint type application for presenting slides, a word processing type application, and a spreadsheet type application. So when you log into your Gmail account, click on the link at the top that says Drive. It used to say a long time ago, it used to say Documents, but now Google has converted everything to Google Drive. And once you go inside of there, you'll see if your first time in there, you probably won't have a list of documents. But up on the left-hand side, there's a place for you to create new. So I'm going to go into mine right now. There's a big red button that says Create, and you can create a new document presentation, spreadsheet, form, drawing, or folder. I spend a lot of time inside of my Google Drive account. And what I mainly use there are the documents and the spreadsheets. And I'm a huge, huge fan of spreadsheets. And as part of this show, what I was going to do is run through some of the spreadsheets that I have in my account that you may want to lay out inside of your account. It's going to help you kind of plan out the next 52 weeks. I tend to look at things in more of a kind of a weekly format than a monthly format. It just depends on how much detail you want to track. If you want to track things by the day or by the hour, by all means, go ahead. You're just going to drive yourself crazy after a while. So at most, the level I track is a week, and there's just different things that I track for myself, for my clients, and one of the reasons I kind of prefer Google Docs over using a local application is just the fact that from any computer in the world, I can log onto my Gmail account and pull up the information. And it's also very easy for me to download a copy of the information and give that to my client, to give that to my friends, give that to my family. So I'm a big fan of Google Docs. It never fails. When my hard drive fails, my Google spreadsheets are up and running just fine. So as I peer over now into my Google Drive account, I'm going to talk to you about some of the spreadsheets that I've built that helps me be a high achiever, that helps me be a very precise planner. And the first one here at the top of my list, and by the way, these are going to be basically kind of in the order and the frequency in which I use them. The first one at the top of my list is one called Passive Service Projections that I use for my business. And again, Passive Service Projections. And what this is a list of the recurring business income that Focus has lined up and the goal amount until a certain milestone, if you will. So the way this spreadsheet looks here is in column A, down the left-hand side, I have a list of all of my monthly recurring clients. I have monthly hosting clients, I have monthly service clients, I have monthly coaching clients. I have a list of all their names down the left-hand side in column A. In column B, what I have is I have the amount that I bill them monthly. I either bill them via invoice, I bill them on a credit card, I just have the different ways that I bill them, and that information is actually in the third column. I notate whether or not it's a credit card or a PayPal account or whatever payment, it is. One of them is even an invoice, a regular good old paper invoice. So I have a list of all my clients' names, amounts, and method of payment in the first three columns on this spreadsheet. Now, what then I've done is I've left several rows at the bottom because I have about 10 rows of padding, if you will, where I can add 10 clients easily so I can constantly grow this spreadsheet down towards the bottom. And then down towards the bottom, I have some areas where I summarize these numbers. So I summarize the total amount monthly, I summarize the total amount annually, and then underneath that, I have a goal amount that I want to get to before I take a certain action in my business. I have a dollar amount here that says this is the number I want to have before, maybe it's before we get new office space or before we hire somebody new or before we expand into a new area. And then underneath, and so that's the number that I entered manually. So far the total monthly amount and the total annual amount are calculated numbers. Then underneath that is the number that I put in manually. Then underneath that, I have a dollar amount, which is the difference on an annual level. The difference on an annual level between what I'm making right now and what my desired goal is here. So now we're getting back into calculated numbers again. So basically, this looks like B29, if you will. B29 is just the total amount desired annually that I put in manual subtracted from totally annual that we have going so far. Underneath that, I have a number which is I'll call that the previous number is a delta number, the number between what we are making annually and what we want to make annually. I again divide that by 12 so that I have what my delta is per month. So now I know what the difference is between what I'm making per month, per year, and what I want to make per year, and then what I'm making per month and what I want to make per month. And then underneath that, I also have some other basically ways the numbers divided up. And then off to the right, what I'm going to call the delta numbers, the difference between where I am and where I want to be. I have this on the actual amounts that we're bringing in. I have the number calculated as a percentage of where we want to be. So at any given point in time, I can go into the spreadsheet and either do projections or I can add new clients as they come in, and I can see how far along am I in my goal until my next business milestone. And this spreadsheet took me about, an hour to get set up to where it really looks the way I wanted it to look. But what I can do with this at a point in time now is I can come in here and I can add new clients as they come in. I can change clients' amounts as we increase or decrease what we're charging them for different service offerings, and I can see the impact on the numbers down here at the bottom. So I can come in here, for example, right now and do a spreadsheet, and I can say, what would happen if we picked up another $1,000 a month, coaching client? How far along would that get me in the total business annual goals for the year? Okay, well, my Google spreadsheet isn't updating very fast, but anyways, if you can see this on screen, you can see that as I'm typing in numbers, what I have here, 6 major numbers. My 6 numbers at the bottom, my 6 numbers at the bottom are changing as I type in each one of my numbers at the top. So what I can do with this very easily is I can just work on my different scenarios, if you will, and I can kind of project what, if we have a new lead come in, or if we want to change the price of a service offering, or if we lose a client even, what's going to be the immediate impact on my bottom line. Now, the interesting thing is, if I was to be sitting with my accountant would say, we can just do all that, right there in QuickBooks. Well, the thing is this is a lot quicker than QuickBooks. It's very easy for me to go inside of a spreadsheet and make changes very fast and see the immediate impact on the numbers. I like to see my very accurate data, so I have my stuff going to 2 different places behind the decimal point. But this is quicker than any financial accounting program out there. And it's very powerful for you to be able to go in to something like this and to quickly put in numbers and see the actual impact on your bottom line like that. So that's one of the spreadsheets I have. I call this one passive service projections, and I call it passive because it's not hourly. Those are, as far as I'm concerned, those are the 2 different kinds of income, if you will, passive and active. Okay, so we're going to close that spreadsheet, and I'm going to open up another one that I like called High Income Planning. This is a spreadsheet that I started a while back when I decided that, I don't want to work 100% of the time in my business. I'd rather work around my business, not necessarily always on my business. You always heard that for you to really grow a business, you have to work on your business, not in your business. So I took that to heart one day, and I said, okay, you know what? Out of a year, I believe there are 2,080 working days. And so what can I do financial projection-wise so I don't have to work all of those hours? So I can work a fraction of those hours, still make the same personal income, if you will, but just charge a different rate. And so what this spreadsheet is, and I really enjoy this spreadsheet, what I did with this one is I put a desired personal income amount here, and then I listed out, the number of weeks in a year, all the weeks in a year, which I'm going to say 52, and the number of hours in a week, 40, right? So when I do the math and all that, it comes out to, 2,080. But then what I also have here is I have it laid out to where I then multiply that amount times a fraction. So let's say that, in my column A I have 2,080 hours. Well, the way my spreadsheet looks right now is the next column over, I have 2,080 multiplied times 0.75, and then on the next column over, I have 2,080 divided by 0.50. And then what I do underneath all of that is I have, and you can just kind of imagine the way this is laid out, but I have all those numbers multiplied, I take the amount that I want to make annually per year, and I divide it by those number of hours. So again, if you can imagine this, and since we're on a radio show, I really can't show this to you, but imagine that my for example, here's an example. In my C column, I have 100%, and right underneath that is the number 2080. And then in the D column, I have 75%. Underneath that is the number 1560, which is 2080 divided by, multiplied times 0.75. And then next one over, I have the 50% column, and I have the number of hours at 1040. So 2080, 1560, and 1040. And then underneath that, what has happened is it's taken the total amount I want to make per year, and it's divided it up by that number of hours. And basically what it does is it gives me a projection that says this is what you're going to have to charge per hour to work that amount and make a kind of income that you want to make, the kind of personal income you want to make. This is more of a personal income planning spreadsheet than a business income planning spreadsheet. And so I can say, oh, you know what, to make this income level, and I only want to work 75%. I only want to work 1,560 hours. I'm going to have to make X amount. So, for example, let's say that I want to come over here and my desired income, let's say that for some reason I make my desired income really big, like right here, right now. And I'm going to make this $1 million. So what happens if I want to make $1 million a year, okay? If I want to make $1 million a year, I'm going to have to charge $480.77 to work full time and make $1 million a year. I'm going to have to charge $480.77 per hour to make that kind of money. So that's going to give me a really high hourly rate. But if I only want to work 75% of the time and make $1 million, well, you know what? I'm going to have to make $641.03 an hour. And you can just keep doing the math out. If I only want to work half-time and make $1 million a year, I'm going to have to charge $961.54 an hour to make $1 million a year. And so what this allows me to do is it allows me to play with all kinds of cool scenarios. I want to make $1 million a year. I want to make $500,000 a year. And it just basically tells me, okay, when I'm looking at what I want to charge for my personal time in my business, not for what I want to charge for my employees' time, what I want to charge for my time, what rate should I be charging to basically work at the level that I want to work at? Because you know what? I don't want to work all of those 2,080 hours a year. I don't. You have to take into account vacation time. You have to take into account sick time. As long as you take into account a realistic amount of working hours per year and you plug stuff into a spreadsheet like this, then what you do is you give yourself a realistic idea of what your hourly rate is worth. And like I said, I just plugged in $1 million there right now, and heck, you could work like a dog and you're still going to have to make $480 a year for hourly consulting. Now, this is not taking into account things like products that you might sell or things like that. This is only taking into account an hourly consulting type rate. And then on this same spreadsheet, I did something interesting, is I made another table at the bottom, and basically what I did is I said, okay, for several different hourly rates, going from 50 to up to 500, and then, so that's those are my numbers across the top of my other grid, 50, 100, 150, 200, all the way up to 500. And then on the left-hand side, I have 100%, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50%. And what I do is I built that grid so I can very easily see, okay, at $150 an hour working, let's go over here. At $100 an hour, if I only want to work 80% of the time at $100 an hour, what am I going to make? And the table tells me right here, $166,400. Well, let's say, what if I want to work 200, what if I want to work 100% of the time, which is unrealistic, 2,080 hours, and I want to charge $200 an hour? Well, that's going to make me $416,000 a year, but I'm going to basically be working like a dog to make that particular money. So, again, what this allows me to do is something pretty cool. It just allows me to sit at various income levels and project, okay, how much do I want to charge for an hour of my time to make a certain income level every single year? And again, that's not counting products, that's only counting hourly consulting rate. So this is one of the spreadsheets. I call this one high income planning. If you want a copy of this spreadsheet, please contact me offline at patrick.almond@gmail.com, and I'll gladly share this spreadsheet with you. Now I'm going to close this spreadsheet and go to one of the other ones that we use. This is, of course I have one for monthly business expenses. So I have one here where basically I list the day of the month that a particular vendor bills me, their name, their category, how much they bill me, what the percentage is of the total amount I'm getting billed per year, and also how the method unto which they're billing me, and whether or not a particular expense is offset by a client, because that's very important. If I have an expense and I have a client that's compensating me for it, I really don't consider that too much of a problem, especially because I'm usually going to mark it up anyways and make a profit off of it. But to me, one of the important factors here that you can see on this is the percentage. I don't like looking at numbers as numbers. I like looking at numbers as percentage of the whole, because that's what tells me, what really stands out versus other numbers. Numbers versus numbers gives you an idea, but numbers as a percentage of the whole is what I really like to see. I like to see my expenses as a percentage of all of my expenses. I like to see my income as a percentage of all of my income. So I have a column here that not only shows me the dollar amount, but it also shows me the percentage of that dollar amount as a whole. So, for example, I have all of my expenses added up here to a big giant number at the top. I always put my summary numbers to the top of my spreadsheets, not the bottom, because I don't want to always have to scroll down as I add more data. So I have a number here that's, all of my expenses added together, and then next to each of my individual detail line items, I take the amount, like let's say I have a service that costs me $20 a month. I take 20, divide that by the total amount at the top of the spreadsheet, and that's another cell which shows me the percentage. So in my particular case, that's a fraction of 1%, and that tells me that's just a very low amount compared to all of my other expenses right there. So again, when you start building a spreadsheet that shows details and summaries, try to build in a column that shows a percentage amount. And of course, the entire percentage is all going to add up to right about 100% if the spreadsheets are doing their math correctly. But percentages to me are more important than actual numbers. So that's one with the focused monthly business expenses. Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, dashboard. This is one I really love also. And every business should have a business dashboard. And we're just about out of time. The business dashboard basically gives you metrics that you should be looking at every single week to measure how well your business is doing. And I may have to go into a whole episode about this because I didn't realize that I was going on and on about the other dashboard, which I like so much. But on my business dashboard spreadsheet, I have 3 different sections. I have one called Cash Dashboard, I have one called Marketing Dashboard, and I have one called Web Dashboard. On my Cash Dashboard, I have things like how many invoices did I send, how many make deposits did I made, what kind of affiliate income do I have, and what kind of expenses do I have. And I have this, I'm logging this by the week. I'm logging this one by the week. On my Marketing Dashboard, I'm keeping track of things like how big is let me see on my Marketing Dashboard, how many speaker proposals did I submit, how many direct mail pieces did I send, how many lead phone calls did I make. And on my Web Dashboard, I have things like how big is my email list, how big is my Facebook fan page, my Twitter account, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I'm going to have to do a whole other show on my business dashboard. As we wrap up, and we have 60 seconds, I want to thank you for listening to the Blog Talk Radio Show, the Stop Doing Nothing show for high achievers. If you haven't done so yet, go over and like our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/stopdoingnothing. Don't forget to try out our new social networking goal-setting app called Desire at desire.stopdoingnothing.com. And, of course, just go over to the webpage, stopdoingnothing.com, get on the email list for a free membership, and browse around and just look at some of the great blog posts that we're getting up there. Don't forget, we're on the Blog Talk Radio every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. We really look forward to you listening next week. If you're someone, by the way, who has an iPod or an iPhone, you can also subscribe to our show that way. This has been Patrick Allman with the Stop Doing Nothing High Achiever Radio Show on Blog Talk Radio. We look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great New Year and a great 2013.